Paul Farrelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I didn't vote for the legislation for the referendum, nor to trigger Article 50, regardless of the consequences which are now all too plain to see. I made my views clear during the 2017 election, and despite most people's expectations, I was re-elected. So throughout this, I've been consistent and honest, as indeed has the Right Honourable and Learned Member for Rushcliffe. And it was during the last vote, sadly, on the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement, it was the first time that he and I were in different lobbies. Not because we don't believe that leaving the European Union is a terrible mistake for our country, but because the Prime Minister so successfully ticked the clock down, he was just being pragmatic. Pass her agreement, then live and fight for the future another day. And I respect that decision. And today, I'll also be pragmatic, because otherwise this intransigent, deeply flawed Prime Minister may very well get a no-deal way just so that she can wag her finger at the rest of us and say, I told you so. I think we also owe it today to come to a clear decision to the three ministers who honourably resigned this week to help give us this opportunity, and to the Honourable and Right Honourable members who have done such sterling work in the national, not personal interest. The Right Honourable and Learned Member for Beaconsfield has been truly outstanding, as has the irrepressible member for Broxton. Mr. Speaker, in my local area of North Staffordshire, I now seem to be a lone island of remain in a shifting sea of leave as far as members of this House are concerned. And I certainly dread the thought of a second referendum. Powerful, loud and deep-pocketed voices would try and drown out debate with cries of betrayal. But I think we have to be brave. In the interests of our country, we should not shy away from giving the people, including youngsters from 16, a final say in their future. So I do believe that if the House gives a firm steer today, the government should not only listen, but also put the matter to a people's vote with an option to remain. And should it do so, I'll campaign, as we did in Newcastle-under-Lyme in 2016, for a Remain result. Remain and reform, if necessary, from within. Remain and heed the lessons of history, to keep our place along with one-time foes, but for the last 75 years our partners in peace and prosperity on an often troubled small continent in a rapidly changing world. Mr. Speaker, in 2016 in Newcastle we fought the referendum as hard as any general election. Sadly, that wasn't evident in all parts of our country. And true, in Newcastle people voted 60-40 to leave, but not for what happens next. In next-door Stoke it was 70-30. So actually the difference does show that if you make the argument, you make a difference, particularly when the result, so nationally, 52-48, was so narrow. And what, of course, was missing on the ground in that referendum was the engagement of the Conservative Party. Having introduced the referendum, the party of government took no position, in the interests of the party, not of our country. And this is the way the Prime Minister has behaved ever since. But she gained no majority for her approach in the last election, and she's got no majority in the House now for her so-called deal. She stumbles on, and she truly is the stumbling block. Mr. Speaker, when we vote later, I do hope that we will vote to revoke, and I would, or to give us a leeway to revoke, and I urge colleagues not to abstain over motion L. But if not, then I hope that we vote for something pragmatic, for a future that keeps us close to our partners in Europe. And to conclude, Mr. Speaker, when we do vote, I will pay great heed to the lead that's been given by true statespeople, like the Right Honourable and Learned Members for Rushcliffe and Beaconsfield, and for West Dorset, Grantham and Stamford, and my friends here on this side for Pontefract and Castleford, Leeds Central, Holborn and St Pancras, and many others. And I hope the Prime Minister will do as well, because it was quite simply wrong for her to do what she did last week in that extraordinary broadcast to the country, to do our Parliament down when it is full of really good people who are a real credit to our democracy.